City. Now, um, today's pod a little bit different. It's just gonna be some slight thoughts that I had. Really, just watching Quarterback, that new Netflix series. Um, so it's just the dregs of summer. Ain't really got a lot going on. Ty should be back. We'll have some more Falcons news to discuss, and then probably next week we'll go ahead and go through summer league highlights for Asia and I think Gay is playing this year as well. Those are really only the two on summer league that I think are going to make the team. So we'll go through summer league highlights probably next week. As you guys know, July is kind of the dead month. Just make it a habit of coming on, getting on the pod, even if it's about 15, 20 minutes. Obviously, we'll have the more in depth, deeper pods as we get closer to the season. Training camp starts. Preseason, and then obviously like our big one to open the football season, just like we got a big one to open the basketball season. So, with all that out the way, Quarterback on Netflix. I really, really appreciated the whole show, right? The whole context of the show. I think it was really cool how both seasons had Falcons quarterback. Just so happens to be that way because both seasons had Kirk Cousins. Um, Seems to be a pretty like upstanding, forthright guy in terms of opening up his home life. I binge season two today. I want to go back into season one with a bit more context. They did a little bit of flashbacks about like where he lived, his family, home life, and stuff like that. Uh, but when I think about it, I'm sitting here and I'm like, that's rough. That's rough. I think it does give a deep interpersonal look at who people are. I think that we have a terrible, terrible habit of looking at players as just like pieces in a machine, right? Cogs on a wheel to help the team get to where they want to go instead of them being like full and actual human beings. And I think the show does a great job of humanizing, right? Of really getting people to understand these are people that have their own lives and things going on and whatnot. So with that being said, um, I got a couple points. The first one I think is the biggest, right? Is that Kirk Kirk said it at the end of the season, but and I know the show because of the interview style is a little bit more introspective, right? Like they're highlighting points throughout the season, showing them clips and whatnot, and they're if you look at the editing of it, they're having like post game analysis or they're talking to them in the moment, but those real sit downs in front of the camera are happening at the end. So you're able to look at it, you know, in hindsight. But I think some of those blurbs of like in the moment give you a real glimpse of what the player was actually thinking. And what he basically confirmed was just the fact that he was hurt in that Saints game. And he had no business finishing the rest of that season. Um, or not even finishing the season because I got to talking to Taj about this. We talked about it even up to today. We was talking about it. Had he sat for 2 or 3 weeks, Michael Penix Jr. isn't beating Brian Flores. That's not happening. Would he have beat the Chargers? Possibly. Our defense played amazing that game, but was our defense playing amazing because Kirk was in a like huge slump, so they know they had to step up? You could potato that. You know what I'm saying? It's butterfly effect. Um, but either way, had he finished the Saints game and then sat for the next 2 weeks, Penix maybe goes 1-1, right? Uh, I think the Saints game was there to be won, even with Penix as a rookie, even with Dennis Johnson being a really good defensive mastermind. I think the Saints game was there to be won, and he got hurt. He got hit pretty early in that game, and it was pretty obvious he was hurt. But through the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think Penix would have had the exact same record that he had at the end of the season, right? Because like even the Broncos game, shouldn't have got away from us the way that it did. Not saying you would have won it, but like it shouldn't have got away from us. So like if Penix goes 1-2 in the middle of the season, I think that still facilitates because at one point in time we were 6-3. That Saints hit happens, and we are 6-7 at one point in the season, and then 7-8, and then we end up being 8-8, and then 8-9 in the season, right? So like Penny goes 1-2 to 7-5, right? And at 7-5, you still have the ability to, you know, turn the season around, really. You know what I'm saying? And if you turn the season around, I think that if you come back and turn the season around, I think that you have every right to finish the season out. Um, early interviews of like impressions of this signing was that we should be in the playoffs. We're a quarterback away. And through 10 weeks of the season, that's exactly how it looked. That's exactly how it looked. And he kind of I understand where he was coming from. If you've listened to the pod at any point in time, we talked about his mentality, right? And how he basically said what me and Taj had been saying. He saw Penix as a threat because of the investment that they made in him. He was very adamant about he would not have left Minnesota had he known Atlanta was going to draft a young quarterback high in the draft. Now, to be fair, as we talked about multiple times, Atlanta had Jaden Daniels one, and then they had Michael Penix two, right? I think that's crazy because that kind of means they had Caleb third, or they never had Caleb on the board because he was the presumptive number one. Never got a straight answer on that, but they clearly said they had Michael Penix Jr. rated as their second quarterback and their fourth overall player, right? So as we have stated multiple times, when an A plus prospect drops to you at 8, positional fit, need, contract, all that goes out the window. Mainly one, because you're picking an 8, right? So if you had this vast depth of talent at every position, you wouldn't be picking at 8, right? And yes, you invested in the quarterback position, but like Raheem said, like we're setting ourselves up for the future as well. Um, and with the way they structured the contract, how we've talked about it multiple times, Kirk being the backup doesn't necessarily kill you. It's not ideal, right? It's not the funnest thing in the world, but it doesn't necessarily kill you because of the structure of the contract. It's just like you're paying a high profile quarterback, right? And if Penix gives you, you know, top top 13 to 12 quarterback play in the league, yeah, that's what you pay. That's as much as you pay for him anyway. You don't get the savings of the rookie deal. That's I've beat that drum a million times. When you look at salary cap, that's all it is you just don't get the savings of the rookie deal. So like Kirk's not a dumb guy. He understands that. Um, and he basically talked about the fact that his heart was still in Minnesota. His homes was still in Minnesota, his family, his routine, all those things. And he would have been on Minnesota on a year-to-year basis. On a hey, we're gonna bring you back this year. Hey, we're gonna bring you back this year, or hey, our guy's ready to go. Sam Darnold was okay with that. Where he was at that point in his career, I think Sam may have a different take with his now in Seattle, right? So like I think Sam signed a 3-year contract. He may look when he's up for his contract a little differently than he did at the Minnesota contract or the San Fran contract before that. If you look at Kurt, he was in he was drafted with RG3. So he was in Washington for 4 years. He's been in Minnesota for 8. You know what I'm saying? His kids born there. Well, his kids wasn't born there, but like, family grew up there. He's got a life built there. Um, moved there when he was like 26 or 27. Now he's 35 years old. Like those are just real formative years and stuff. And so as a family man myself, I get it. Like I understand the idea of like, dang, I've kind of built my life here. I put on roots here, And now professionally, I'm in a space where they can't give me a long-term commitment to secure my family, let me move my family elsewhere, only to get there. And then that new employer be like, hey, I can offer you the financial security point of it, but the aspect of doing the job that I brought you here to do may not be the case, right? And that's hard. That's hard, right? Like you go there thinking that you're gonna do one job, they got you doing another. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all told me I was gonna do fries. Why am I cleaning the bathroom? You know what I'm saying? Like that's hard for people, and so like I don't really necessarily blame him for that. Um, I think it was super hard once he saw how talented Penix was, with the investment that they had in him, and I think that did make it very hard for once you get that injury to say, hey, I need to sit down for 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, that's what it would have been. It'd have probably been a 2 week injury, maybe like in three if you count like the Saints game, right? So you'd have missed all in all two and a half games, 2 3/4 of a game, and you know to be honest with you, we saw three full games of Penix, and then garbage time minutes in Denver, and I think we had garbage time somewhere else in the season. But we saw garbage time minutes in three full games, and everybody is tripping over themselves, saying that Penix is the next great one. So like, I'm not gonna say he's completely paranoid over the fact that like if you gave up 2.5 games, that they wouldn't be ready to move on. But I do think you would have gave yourself a better chance because like he said at the end to Andy Dalton, it is crazy with Andy Dalton too, right? For those who don't remember, like how that went down during the season, Bryce Young was benched. Andy Dalton comes in, they're playing decent ball, right? I think he won a game or two, and then he lost 2 or 3. He ended up getting into a car crash. So only reason Bryce got his job back, and then Bryce started balling, right? And so Kirk was like, "Nah, you were playing good, and they benched you." So basically, like you just got injured, and they benched you. For me, I was playing bad. I had those bunches of interceptions. He talked about when he got benched about 10 years before. And I think I think that's hard for him to come to terms with. He even said it in that moment. And that's why I love the in season stuff, because you get it raw, right? Like you get it right when that person's thinking about it. I really connected with him on like a dad, family man level right then, because he was like, it's tough because like I moved my family here. We just moved into the house and like been there, man. You move for a job, you move for an opportunity, and now things ain't going how you want to professionally, and it's like I can't really just give this up because like I've got to think about more people than just me. And I think that was real introspective. I really enjoyed it. I hope they continue to do these seasons over and over again. The other piece that I really thought about within, watching quarterback and whatnot, is dude is a consummate pro. He is a professional. He definitely stepped in to help MPJ, and I also think that things are not as they seem or how they can be described to the media, especially because we don't have all the facts and pictures in it, right? So I think back to the Joe Burrow thing. The whole story was Joe Burrow was fed up with his coach and just like ready to like tee off on him and whatnot because he was saying F that, it's unacceptable or whatever. He's talking about the 8 false starts, right? And you get to see behind the curtain on that. But like on the flip side, I came on the pod and I eviscerated Kurt, right? For being like, you can't go to the mic and say, it's a tie game. Next time I touch the ball, we're down 21. And when you threw a pick and all this and that, right? Because like there were moments you could have won the game, and he's right, but I just feel like as a leader you shouldn't have said that. But that was like verbatim what coaches were saying, right? So like that's one of those where still personally I think you shouldn't have put that out there or put that forward. But I can't really say you're the worst person in the world if you're just parroting, you know, kind of feeling what coaches are saying as well, especially when you're in a slump and they're saying it to kind of pick you up and whatnot. The last thing I will say, Zach Robinson. I do not know him personally, but I don't think the show did any favors in his relationship to Kirk while he was going through the slump. Almost every single interaction through those 6 weeks as they documented it. So basically, episode 4 and 5, if I'm not mistaken, like going through each of those, like you could see Zach just like completely losing it with Kirk. And it culminated in the Raiders game where, I went back and looked because they talked about it, but nah, he didn't let him throw the ball, right? And I think one of the big pieces of that is just like you saw Kirk is coming to the sideline and he's like, they were in corners. Or they were in quarters. That's what I thought I saw there. And he was like, it's cover three. Like I saw cover three. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that was him. I think that was TJ was saying like I saw a cover three, and you could just see Zach in the background, kind of like rolling his eyes, fed up with it. Um, Kirk comes after another pick, and he was like, "That's it, right? Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." You know what I'm saying? Like he's completely over. He's fed up. He's done. And like I don't think that was the prevailing theme or notion around the building, um, especially if he's not overly disclosing his injury and how much he's hurt and how much it's affecting, you know, his decision making or his ability to execute. I do think he was very candid about the fact of he recognized what we all saw in real time, right? Because like national media was saying like, "Yo, Kirk's not healthy." Local media, us, you know what I'm saying? I get we're part of the media. We just do a podcast, but like fans are saying like, "Bro, this is not the same. He don't look the same. This ain't the same guy." But even then, it was like it's not that you're making bad decisions. It's that like physically you cannot do what your what the execution calls for you to do. And like you're saying, like, oh, my ankle was a little gimpy coming into the season, but now I don't have my shoulder, now I don't have my arm. And that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like through the season. Especially like that pick six against the Chargers. Like looking at it in real time, like that that exact throw is what let me know that Matt Ryan was done. You know what I'm saying? So like I think Kurt having that same throw was just like from there I was like I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I think we had a bye after that. Or did we have the Broncos and then a bye? I think we had the Broncos, then a bye, then the Raiders. I thought we should have been good after the bye to go ahead and go with Penix because it was obvious that Kirk wasn't the guy. Now I understand that the idea of he's not healthy, take a week to get him healthy, put him back out there. But then you saw the Raiders game, and I think that's when they were comfortable, right? Because like yeah, he got benched after a win. Like it wasn't another loss sealed for him that another piece that cost him the game. It's just like you look at the offense and it's like this is bad. I think Zach was frustrated, and I think the show showed Raheem in a really really good light. Even that point where he was like, "Hey, give him the choice on whether or not he wants to run scout team." He was like, "I'll give you a week." You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, life goes on. Football is a meritocracy, right? Like you can't stay in your feelings forever. But like I understand empathetically pretty much what you're going through right now and the big decision that was made regarding your career. So you got some time to go ahead and work through it. And Kurt, once again, consummate pro was just like, it's cool. I run scout team. So I think all in all, if there was a person to go through this situation, he is the person to do so. I was a little nervous about him being the one holding the clipboard next year, but especially if they're gonna, they'll have to strictest captainship. Um, I don't know if he finishes his career out in Atlanta. He's got, you know, what is that? 120 million reasons to go ahead and finish it out here. If he wants to, maybe a high probability they go ahead and just do the 100 mil guaranteed, and then because there's a out after the third year, they go ahead and take the dead cap hit on the third year when they're or at the end of the third year when they go ahead and put Mike up and start structuring out his contract. So like you still got 2 years. Um, you still got 2 years, probably like 20-ish mil extra that you're gonna get because the 100 mil is guaranteed. About 20-ish mil extra that you're gonna get. Cruise it out, right? And if you're done playing football, you're done playing football. I understand not wanting to move again, not wanting to put his family through that. And overall, I think it was a beautifully written show. Uh, the guys that I saw on the show, this kind of like a little broader scope than just the Falcons. Guys that I saw on the show, you got Kurt, who is a 15-year pro, Burrow, who's been there for 5 years, and Golf, who like man, it was crazy for me to like say it, but he's been there for 10 years, right? Um, been a 10-year starter. Uh, and actually pretty impressive resume, right? So Goff's been a 10-year starter. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs 5 times in his career, right? Um, and he has a good bit of playoff wins. So like he's actually like he really actually has an impressive catalog, right? But with that, um, I was thinking, hey, I definitely want them to continue the quarterback series. Who would kind of fit the mold, right? So I think when I look at an older guy in the league, right, new spot, new place, has the ability to start, may have some tension with the old guy, with a new guy coming in. Um, I would love for Russell Wilson to do it. Now I don't know if he's too big a star to do so, right? But he will kind of be my old guy, my Kurt. I would want to I would want to follow around for the season. Now for about the 9 to 12 year guy, right? Because in the first season it was Kurt, right? Again, so for the mid type of guy, Jerry's never going to allow it, but I think Dak Prescott would be amazing. Kind of see the life, see the drama, see like what's going on year after year. I think that would be really fun to see. And then for the 5 year guy, I Jalen, right? Like Jalen Hurts. I think people want to get to know him. I think he lives his life in quotes, right? And I do think he's an amazing talent. And I'm not putting it on his representation or anything like that. I don't see him in a lot of commercials. I don't see him in a lot of adverts. And I think a good bit of that is like outside of Philly, I think on a national scale, people don't overly know him or feel connected to him like they do somebody like Pat, like they do somebody like Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. Um, I wouldn't be opposed to Josh Allen. Um, but if I'm looking in that mid tier, I think Dak would be good. The person who I would absolutely love that I know they're not going to do is Lamar, right? I don't think Lamar is given that type of access to his day to day, and that's not to say he's in anything or wants to do anything. I just don't think that that's his mo. He's been able to build a wildly successful brand, you know, just kind of being himself and not having to have any extra thing put out there. He's just Lamar, and so yeah, I'm a Lamar fan. So not a Ravens fan, but I want to see Lamar succeed. If there's anybody I want to see come out the AFC, but Pat is Lamar before Burrow or Allen. So I definitely think that he'd be amazing at it. I just don't think he'd do it. So yeah, that's those are my thoughts on the show. Was able to get quick little 25 out of it. I really liked it. I think you guys should watch it, get what you can from it. Hope they continue it. They haven't said anything about season three. Probably gonna wait for season two numbers to go on. So go ahead and pump it up. Appreciate you guys. Go ahead, like, subscribe, follow. We are BOAF Media at BOAF Media on every platform: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Um, got a page on Facebook if you want to like and follow that one. It's been your boy Q City, and I'm out. Peace.